council will come to order, please. Call the roll.
Alatorre, Bernson, Chick, Fuhr, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Ridley Thomas, Fornish, Wax, Walters, Ferraro, 10 members present, Mr. President, and a quorum.
Yes, the council will please come to order. This is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 8th day of June, 1999, which is Election Day. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phones. So the first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Holden moves, Mr. Hernandez second. If there's no objections, unanimous vote. The next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
If there are no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Item number 3 on the regular agenda, request to continue that matter until June 15th.
Is there any objections to continuing that item? Seeing none, the matter is continued. Next item.
Item number 10 on the regular agenda is commission appointment, Ms. Laverne Tucker to the Productivity Commission.
Ms. Laverne Tucker, would you please come forward? This is an appointment that I made at the recommendation of Joel Wax. Is there any discussion on this appointment? If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
You have been approved, and you've been nervous for no reason at all.
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, we'll send that forthwith, and we want to thank you for serving the city.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item.
On the regular agenda, item number 1 is the mayor's veto message.
Item number 1, we have Carlos Sager that wants to be heard on this. Carlos Sager. Ron?
My name is Carla Sanger, and I'm President and CEO of LA's Best After School Enrichment Program, and I wanted to address Council to be able to say that the situation has changed for LA's Best since our last meeting and since the meeting with the ad hoc committee. The situation has changed because we have received a grant from the State Department of Education that enables LA's Best to expand by 30 schools. However, that grant has a caveat, and that means that we must put up 1/2 of the funding that is new for this program to be able to show the full support of this program. What that means is, in addition to the $1.5 million that LA's Best must raise to support its 28 schools currently, we would have to raise half of what I'm anticipating is $3.4 million coming through from the state. That means the burden is increased by about $1.7 million. This $1 million that would be reinstated would be funds that would be really a three in the sense that 1 is to create matching funds, 2 is to create very needed training for the more than 450 community residents who will be hired to staff these programs, and 3, to create at the same time materials that will be used to replicate the LA's Best training models to offer to other after-school programs throughout the city. I wanted to make that clarification and urge your consideration and support of reinstating that $1 million. Thank you.
Benitez Billard wants to be heard on this item. If you want me to pronounce your name right, I wish you'd print it a little better. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Benita Belardis.
Yeah.
In regards to the veto of allotting more money towards a human services delivery system, thank you. I'm here to represent Career Planning Center. We have a curriculum that's currently funded by CDBG, Youth Education for Positive Alternatives, and I, along with many of my collaborators who called to make sure we were going to be here, would just urge you to reconsider. In addition, I'll provide you, as soon as I get it together, with letters of support from the students and from faculty. I think you'll understand why it's needed. Thank you.
We have a lot of people that want to, like Lucia Diaz from Mar Vista Family Center, Jesse Brown Johnson. If you're going to be heard, you better move up to the microphone because we're...
And then can I be heard after we
Yes.
Yes, my name is Lucia Diaz, and I'm here bringing some of our concerns from, not just from my program, but also from our area. Many of these organizations, we've been receiving funding for the job that, a very effective job that we've been doing over there. We've been working with children, with youth, with whole families. And we really wanted also to bring to you awareness about what is it that's going to be happening. I agree and I approve with the programs, the after-school programs, the LA Best, but at the same time, there is other organizations that they've been working really hard and giving the best to create programs preventing a lot of these negative things that's been happening in our communities. So I would like to ask to really think about your decisions and to see where you would be putting the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Johnson, Bernadette Francois.
Hi, my name is Jessica Brown Johnson, and I'm representing the Los Angeles Youth Network, an agency working with runaway and homeless youth in Hollywood. And I would like the council to please consider that as an agency and with our colleagues, we recognize that there are changes that we would have to consider with the city council and the funding, and that we recognize LA's best. But we also want you to recognize that the service providers that have been out here for many, many years providing services under the human service delivery system continues to need funding, and that LA Best might be doing a wonderful job, but there are also youth that are out there that are not in schools and that are receiving services from service providers beyond the ages or beyond the services that LA Best is providing. And what we just want to say that please consider the service providers that have been in your delivery system for many years and give us an opportunity to have a smooth transition in the process. Thank you.
Bernadette Francois and Margie Kruger.
Good morning. I'd like to bring it to the council's attention that as an agency person, and speaking for the number of senior citizens, families with children and the homeless, without the funding, the $1 million or 500,000, our programs will suffer. But more than that, the programs, the people that we serve will suffer. I would ask you, the city council, to consider the people that we're working for. Thank you.
Thank you. Marjorie Kruger and Kimberly Caldwell. And Judith Alexander.
Thank you. I'm the SEPA 5 Poverty Sector Alternate Rep. First, the agencies in SEPA 5 appreciate the efforts of the CED Committee on their behalf. At our most recent meeting, the agencies voted to make SEPA 5 exempt from the consortium model. This is in large measure due to the fact that it will be necessary to use all available funding to ensure the survival of all the single agencies in SEPA 5. It will take considerably more funding and study to seriously consider the consortium model in SEPA 5. There are complex financial, logistical, and legal issues that will need to be resolved. I can only underscore and reemphasize the need for the survival of the unique singular agencies which compose SEPA 5. As I said before, the needs of the target populations, such as the poor, the elderly, and the disabled, will only increase, and their chances for self-sufficiency decrease if these agencies are forced to stop. More and more of their clients may be forced into a life on the street. Recently, we all witnessed the controversy surrounding the death of the homeless woman, Margaret Mitchell. I see this as a wake-up call to all of us. The best way to honor the memory of this woman is to focus our attention on this complex issue and truly address the needs of the poor and homeless. The poor have many faces. They are not all drunks, drug addicts, or mentally ill. Like any segment of our society, they are diverse. In our shelters, you can meet brilliant, educated people, older displaced workers, victims of catastrophic illness and other calamities. They are your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your son, your daughter, your neighbor,
Okay.
the coworker that you knew 20 years ago. In short, the chances for any of us to fall into financial catastrophe, physical disability, are much greater than most of us realize. And as long as God grants us the breath of life, we will all one day constitute the ranks of the elderly. So in essence, when we turn our backs on these target populations, we're turning our backs on ourselves. Besides these humanitarian reasons, there is a second important reason to somehow find the necessary funding to ensure the survival of these agencies. We all want the image of our city to be that of a sparkling, progressive, diverse, first-class
Please.
city, a center of business and
We have other
commerce.
people who want to be heard now, please.
Okay, pushing more and more people onto the street will only detract from this image and instead project the image of a third-world slum. Thank you.
Kimberly Caldwell, Judith Alexander, Mary Kelly.
My name is Kimberly Caldwell, and I work for Westside Center for Independent Living. We serve the physically and mentally disabled population.
Hey, David.
I would first like to commend councilpersons Mike Hernandez, Jackie Goldberg, and Mark Wrigley Thomas for wanting to increase the human services budget. And what else I would like to say is that although LA Best is a wonderful agency and we need them, there are many agencies that have been serving the community for some time that need to continue to service different populations such as the disabled. So this is what I would like to hope that you would consider, that money is definitely set aside for other human service agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Judith Alexander and then Mary Kelly.
Hi, I'm Judy Alexander, Assistant Director of St. Joseph Center. St. Joseph Center provides services to very low-income homeless individuals in the Venice and West LA areas. I, too, want to support restoring the cuts to the human service delivery system. It is an established system which has been providing much-needed services for many years, and to make deep cuts into this system would definitely do away with services which are so needed, especially in this time of welfare to work. Thank you very much.
Mary Kelly and then Terry Lance.
Good morning, I'm Mary Kelly. I'm representing Hilltop Nursery School. I feel very saddened that we're here today to essentially be talking against an agency that's been doing a lot of good work, and that's LA Best, to fight over $500,000. Because everyone is concerned about youth, everyone is working hard for the families and the youth of the city, and I would urge the City Council to find the money that's needed so that all the agencies can continue to do the good work that they've been doing and serve the youth of the city. Thank you.
Terry Lance with United Cerebral Palsy Westside Activities Center, also with the Committee for Human Services. Pictures speak louder than words. These are the people that I represent at my center. They are disabled, some are young, some are middle-aged, some are seniors, all of whom depend on your leadership. You have an opportunity today to stand up and connect the City of Angels, to connect it with caring. We have volunteers who come to the center. This young man was in the LA Times. I brought him before your committee, Mr. Hernandez, Councilman Hernandez, and Councilwoman Goldberg. You saw him. He's a fine young man. He comes from a split home. He could have become a street gang member. He didn't. Instead, he's being honored. Not only that, he serves as a volunteer at our center. All of these centers are in your communities. They are your link. You are in charge of your communities. And you have the connecting power to connect youth with experience, to get leadership qualities, to look up to people who serve people and care about the people in Los Angeles. We can build high-rises, we can get parkland, but with no supervision, no leadership, and no moral fibers for them to look at and follow, we have lost. All of us have lost. We ought to admire and respect our seniors. We ought to care about those who are born with disabilities. And we ought to become human in the City of Angels. I ask you to show your leadership. We are all here. How many people are here?
All right,
for
thank you
Human
very much.
Services?
Please, we have other people, and we have to get on to the...
I
Joanne
hope that you do show your leadership, sir.
Thank you. Joanne Saliba.
Thank you. I'm here as a chair of the Community Action Board for the City of Los Angeles. We oversee the Human Services Block Grant Program for the City of Los Angeles, and I really urge you to take the option mentioned in the motion that you reinstate the Human Services funds, but also continue to fund LA's Best through general fund money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the cards we have. We'll close the public hearing. And Mr. Alatorre?
Mr. President and members, I'm going to move to receive and file the item number 2, and which is the veto message.
Item number 1.
On item number 1, and so that we hold in abeyance item number 2 until July 1st. And I'd like to get a second on that. Mr. Burnson, I think, wants to second it. I didn't see. He's seconding it. Okay. Let me speak. Mr. President and members, you know, it really is sad that that we have good programs all the way around having to be put in a situation where it appears that they are arguing against another good program. Because what we're basically talking about is we're talking about kids, we are talking about senior citizens, we are talking about, youth at risk and the like. And we're talking about targeted populations that are in need of services. And I think that between now and the beginning of the year, we can resolve some of these. I know that I've been in contact with the mayor's office, and they have been in communication trying to find an adequate amount of money so that the agencies that feel that they are going to be threatened by an action, hopefully we can find the needed resources so that we can minimize the pain. But it's always pained me. It pained me when we were arguing about Hope for Youth. It pained me when we were arguing about trying to get $2 million when I introduced a motion for youth at risk, and we were arguing about whether kids deserved it or whether police deserved the money. And any time that you have to argue about money, and especially when you're arguing about, pitting one group against another, to me, I find it to be unfortunate. And that is on the one aspect. On the question of street miles, look, it appears all of us want our streets to be paved and the like. I think that there are ways of balancing the budget, and I don't have a problem with the restoration of the money for street resurfacing, as I believe very strongly in the BEST program, and I want to give them the money. But yet at the same time, I think that there are ways that we can accommodate BEST as well as some of the youth serving programs and human services programs. So that is the reason why I am asking for a receive and file on both of these items, so that we can allow for the mayor to be sustained on his veto message. So I'd ask for an aye vote.
All right, Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, I had some questions. Mr. Deaton, assuming that the mayor's veto is not overridden, we added items to the budget based on this money not being spent on the 225 miles of street resurfacing and on LA's Best. What comes out of the budget if the mayor's veto is sustained? What don't we get to fund that we put back in during the ad hoc process?
Basically, reserve fund would be less.
So all this would just come out of the reserve fund, and we lose the
Ultimately.
reserve fund?
Well, basically, the UB, we increase the size of the UB, it would come out of the UB. But ultimately, it's to the UB and the reserve fund.
Okay, so the individual items that we put in will still remain?
That's correct.
I see. Okay. So by what amount will we reduce the UB and the reserve fund then?
1.5 million.
1.5 million. So that's the resurfacing also?
The resurfacing is 1.5 million, and the LA Best was in the UB.
Okay, okay.
So it's shifting from being something that requires future city council action, city council and mayor action, to now it's in the, in general city purposes or
Okay.
wherever.
And someone just handed me this list of LA Best schools. Could somebody just answer a few questions on this, so I understand what we're talking about here? Okay, I just got it, okay. I have 3 columns. I have
correct.
Valley.
Yes,
With 19 schools and 2,360 students.
that's correct.
And then I have a center thing that says West and South with, I can't tell if that's 16 or 18, I'll say it's 18 schools with 1,700 students.
That's correct. However, that has not been funded yet. That is the amount of schools and the number of students that are being appealed currently for a
Okay.
grant. That's not counted in the 30 schools that we've been assured.
Okay, so we can't assume that that'll be funded. It may be, but we can't assume
That's
that.
correct.
And then the right-hand column is 11 schools and 1,200 students.
That's correct.
And that has been funded?
That's correct.
Okay, so the effect of what we're voting on today has what effect on this chart?
In order to maximize that funding and to get everything that we have been granted from the State Department of Education, we must be able to show a match, 50% match, coming from LA's Best.
And how much money is that?
That would be, based on, the district hasn't given me final figures, but I'm guessing 3.4 million of new state money, which means we have to come up with 1.7 million.
All right, now the $1 million in CDBG, does that count toward that match?
The $1 million in CDBG is not towards those schools. That's a different set of schools that we currently are funding with LA's Best, and that's continuing funding for those schools. None of those schools are included.
So that's not counted toward that match?
Not at all, not at all.
And the 3.4 million that you're talking about is for column 1 and column 3?
That's correct.
So
With the
column 2...
is not funded at this moment. I have been assured the grant missed by 1 point, and I have been assured that there is an appeal process that may identify new schools in that center column. But I'm not counting those.
Final question. On the Valley schools,
Yes.
you have numbers like 180 students, 160 students, but in the East Side schools, they're like 80 students. How
Yes.
comes, what's
I
the
wish we
difference?
had made those decisions. We made none of those decisions. Those were LA Unified School District decisions. We would like to have continued with our operating policy of 200 children per school. That was not the district's determination.
So they decided that there'll be a
That's
smaller
correct.
number in the East Side schools?
They chose the
And a
schools, they
smaller
chose-
number in West and South?
That's correct. They chose the schools. They determined the number of children that would be funded.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I call on Mr. Hernandez, let me point out that we have a very distinguished visitor in our city today, Catania Kuzumia, who happens to be the Executive Director, Society for Culture and Business Contacts with the United States and with Canada. She is here in Los Angeles from St. Petersburg, Russia. Would Catania please stand? Glad you have you in our city, and hope you have a good stay.
Just a few words, not to interrupt your very important work. I would like to pass greetings from the people of St. Petersburg. I represent the non-government public organization developing contacts with your country, and we're placing the first priority program on our sister city channel. We would be happy to share experience with the people of this city, our cultural heritage, and extend business opportunities. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you.
And I wish our relations between Los Angeles and St. Petersburg, Russia, would be developing successfully.
Thank you. You're from a very beautiful city.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez?
Mr. President, members of the council, I don't believe the votes are here to override the veto, and because of that, I will be supporting Councilmember Alatorre's motion. I think it's important that we understand the beginning of this debate and the commitment that the mayor's office and we have to make to restore the funding for the human service delivery system. We got to this debate because LA's Best has continued to make commitments that they would raise money from private dollars, and they continue to seek funding from public sources, and they don't come through with their commitment of raising the private dollars. I say that very openly. I've been critical of LA's Best, not because of the programming and what they do, but because of the areas they choose not to serve. And I say that very clearly because when you look at your chart here, it clearly shows an emphasis. And what you need to know is LA's Best used to get funded through CRA sources, through a swap to the school district, and fund programs outside of CRA areas. Now, I kind of stand trying to understand our priorities when we do this. I think a child's a child regardless of where he lives or she lives and needs to have the best possible programming they can. But I do get upset when we deal with issues like riots in the city, and all of a sudden there's the realization that in the areas of poverty and the areas of tremendous need, we had no programming going. In the areas where we don't have enough schools and tremendous density and children can't talk about a homeschool when they go to the junior high school level, we have very little programming going. And that cannot be what LA's Best claims to be its priority. They do not focus on that area as a first priority. They focus on children as a whole. And I understand that. The problem being, though, that we have children who are growing up in communities with not the kinds of resources that other communities have. And so, to me, that was the beginning of this debate, because we were taking human service delivery monies and applying them to LA's Best. And I felt that those monies should be in the areas of need. And I didn't have a problem with them receiving funding from the general fund. I did have a problem when they got monies from the human service delivery system, plus monies from the general fund. And now I see this list before us. Now, members of the council, I think that the motion is proper before us because basically today's the 5th day and we have to take an action, and I don't think the votes are here to override it. And I don't want to take away from LA's Best's purpose. I just want to create an emphasis that they need to continue to focus and see how it is that they put their programs in those communities of tremendous need as a first priority. As a first priority. And the reality is they shouldn't be using the public funds in areas that aren't those kinds of needs. Now, when you go through the state legislation, it did not require the same poverty levels that the block grant required. The realities again being that allowed for expansion in other areas, and that's why you have a list like this. But the communities of South Central Los Angeles and Central and Northeast Los Angeles is the areas where our children are growing up in poverty. And that's where every school should have an LA's Best program. And that's not what we can claim. And that's where I'm bothered. And I wanted to make my statement very clear. I will be supporting the motion in trying to bring some consensus to this issue, but I'm asking that the mayor continue his commitment to basically restore the funds for the human service delivery system. It's extremely important to those people who have no other place to get funding and don't have the political clout to get the kind of support they need for their services. And they're just talking about the living each day services.
Thank you. Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like Mr. Hernandez, I know the votes are not here today to override, and that is very sad. But unlike Mr. Hernandez, I'm going to still cast my vote to override the mayor and against this additional funding for LA's Best in light of the money being taken from human services delivery system. I think that LA's Best spokespeople they approach the funding of their program with no little arrogance. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Because they're LA's Best, then they should get the best. They should get their money off the top. I don't accept that. And I'm going to enter a motion council people, I'll have it ready for tomorrow, that we discontinue any further funding of any expansion schools unless they do serve the neediest communities in the city. When LA's Best was first formed, they fell back on that excuse that the school district chose the schools, and it was with CRA money generated out of Council District 9 from Bunker Hill that funded it for years. Gil Lindsay got up on the floor of this council and said, when they came here, that you have no schools in the 9th District. There was not one school in the 9th District at that point. And I tell you that they're still ignoring the schools in inner city communities, South Central and East Side, as Mr. Hernandez indicated. And I think that we need to have a motion to the Board of Education and some serious counsel with the mayor, although I don't know whether that's going to do anything. But it's just a shame that these agencies that serve so many people in dire need have to be the recipients of a loss so that an agency who does not have its focus as serving children in need can have additional funding for their program.
All right, Mrs. Chick.
Actually, I wanted to ask Mr. Deaton one further question on the restoration of the street surfaces money. If, as I think has happened in previous years, at mid-year budget adjustment time or even later, it's apparent that street services is not going to be able to complete that amount of street repaving. Then could you discuss the opportunity perhaps that that money is transferred back to the UB? And I'm asking the question because while I also know of the pressing need throughout our city to repave streets in all of our neighborhoods and commercial areas, there were quite a few very important items that didn't make it into allocations in the UB, where there were discussions to come back mid-year and to see about funding at that point.
Okay.
Well, we anticipated this amount, we probably wouldn't, the one reasons was the approach that was suggested in the budget was this was not going to be needed until January. We can take a look at it in January if it's not being done by that time, or, which is at least as likely, that there are other constraints and other liabilities that come into play between now and then. We'll have to reduce this and other things in order to meet those.
So just as originally the ad hoc committee had looked at the mid-year budget time to perhaps put it back in, we will have the opportunity to see about taking it out.
That's
okay,
correct.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Galander.
Yeah, I listened carefully to Mr. Hernandez's arguments, and he's persuaded me to support the override, because I also listened to several of the agencies from my district whom I'm very familiar with and who do, in fact, provide wonderful service. And I think it's really unfortunate on the same day that the voters are being asked to divert $5 million a year from all these things, these competing needs we're talking about, to set up a new department, that we're sitting here deciding which worthy organization is going to get screwed. And I think that is disgusting, frankly, and I am disgusted by it. We have organizations who don't happen to be, look, LA's Best is a fine program, but it happens to be the mayor's favorite program. There's a lot of other fine programs out there who aren't the mayor's favorite program, and they need the money as well, and they should not be the ones who get penalized, and their clients should not be the ones who get penalized for this, for any particular program in the city. So I would urge those of you who've expressed your concerns to vote to override the veto and put the money back in the agencies that have been sweating it out for years and aren't anybody's favorite and have real trouble getting the money they need to provide the services that we all need.
Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, I want to know just a little bit more about the funding for the agencies that are currently the human services providers. As I recall at our last meeting in CED committee, we were short about $6 or $7 million of being able to provide not full funding, but the level of funding that we received from the federal government. Is that not correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So my office was informed, I guess in part maybe to urge me not to try to override the veto, that there has been $7 million found to fund this. I'd like to get more information about that before I cast my vote.
I don't know about found money, but the...
Well, that's the expression that was given to our office. I'm simply repeating it. Found.
All right, wait. Could you turn
Yeah,
the
let's
sound?
give Sharon some juice here.
Council-
Thank you. I believe the CAO is going to be releasing a report that discusses some program savings. That report, I believe, is scheduled to be heard in CED committee, I believe, on June 14th.
And the amount of money?
In the range of $5 million, but I don't know
So it's not
what
seven.
the council would have to agree to taking those particular savings.
All right, so, but it's not 7, it's 5.
4.9.
4.9. And that money could go to, well, do we have to make a decision about LA's Best today? Why don't we hold that decision aside until we find out how much money that is? And override the veto on that. Even if we override the veto on that, doesn't mean they won't get the money if the money in fact truly appears. Is that correct? We could do it later?
That is correct. I don't disagree with you, but I think Mr. Hernandez is correct in terms of the votes.
Well,
That's-
I assume that people come in here and listen to the discussion, so otherwise
was
I
the
should
basic
stop
reason
bumping
for-
my gums, I guess.
That was the basic reason to put it in the UBs in the first place. But we can, on July 1st, if this doesn't work, put it, something on the agenda and take it out of LA's Best again.
I see. Okay, well, but I don't want to play flip-flop, I don't want to play games. I'm trying to find a way, if there is more money, that changes my view on how we divvy it up. If there isn't more money, that changes my view back. I don't understand why we have to make the decision today if we're going to find out next week that there may be in fact more money. So I would just urge we divide the question on the mayor's veto and have item number 1 voted on separately from item number 2, and I'll move that.
We are going to do that. Mr. Alatorre?
Mr. President, members, we can look at, I think that all of us are concerned about the Human Services Program, but, there's a way of dealing with it. It just says they found $4.9 million. I think there is an expression here by the members of the council concerned about this program, and I think that's where we take it up. We take it up with the mayor, but not out of the height of what everybody agrees is a good program. And, and it is serving kids. And I think that that's what we have to keep in mind rather than holding off threats. This body can do anything they want July the 1st. If they could decide not to fund if they want to, but, let us just stay with my motion, which is to receive and file. Why do we have to split up the council on it? I think we should all be united in lobbying the mayor to make sure that we can locate more monies or take monies out of the unappropriated balance. And we're really talking about, about $1 million, and we can do it off of that. And BEST has nothing to do with the $7 million that they're short. So let's not blame BEST for that problem. That is a problem. Let us work to solve that problem in trying to help out the Parker Anderson and the other agencies that have done a good job in trying to fund these agencies. And let's work toward that, not work to take it out of the hide of another human services program or a program that is meeting the needs of children. So let us keep that one in mind, and I think that would be the appropriate way. We should be, instead of divided and trying to divide the question, it's simple. The votes aren't here. Why don't we just do it, receive and file, but let us be all resolved and unified that we should concentrate our efforts in trying to locate and fund the human services shortfall that we have in the budget. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote on the receive and file item, on both of the items, and we're going to wait till July 1st on the $500,000 or whatever it is, or we could dispose of that today. Doesn't matter, because we won't need it if the mayor's veto is sustained.
Mr. Hernandez?
Again, members of the council, I think there's a lot of steps that we still have to take. The reality is we'll be able to revisit the question July 1st because of item number 2. And I think it's important that we just try and dispose of this issue as today. The reason July 1st is important is by then the CED committee would have met June 14th, and we would have been able to review the additional funding for the human service delivery system. And our realities could be realized. If they're not, then we have an option to reopen this whole discussion, I think, on July 1st. And so I'm just asking for a consensus vote so that we can get this out of the way.
Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Previous question, sir.
Mr. Ridley Thomas moves the previous question. Prepare the roll on the previous question, which would cut off debate. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Now we have item number 1. Mr. Alatorre has moved to be received and filed.
Yes, that's correct.
Prepare the roll.
And I vote.
Tabulate the vote.
8 ayes, 3 noes.
That is approved. And we have item number 2. And your motion is to?
Continue to July 1st.
Continue until July 1st. And item 2 on the
item 2,
agenda,
yes.
not item July 1st. We don't meet July 1st, so.
Or the meeting right after July.
1st. July.
The other 500,000.
What's the dates in July? Let's continue until July 9th. July 9th, okay?
July 9th is a Friday, yes.
No, let's do it then the Wednesday. The Wednesday, which would be the 7th. Okay, there's a motion to continue item 2 until July 7th. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on both of those. Next item.
Items number 4 through 9 on the regular agenda.
We have somebody that wants to be heard on 9, but we've had a hearing on this item. So we have 4 through 9. Any specials by council members? Huh? 6 and 9? Yeah. We need a motion on 6 anyway. 2, 5, 7, and 8. Mrs. Chick, Mrs. Chick? Prepare the roll on those items. 4 through 9 with the exception of 6 and 9. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Okay, the next item.
Items number 11 through 18 are items for which public hearings have not been held.
We don't have any cards on 11 through 18. Anybody in the chamber wants to be heard on any of those items? Seeing none, the public hearing's closed. Any specials by council members, 11 through 18? 14, Mrs. Walters, which one? 16, Mrs. Goldberg. Any others? Okay, we have 11 through 18 with the exception of 14 and 16. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on 17. 19 is a closed session item. Next item,
Item number 20.
item 20, the public hearing has been held. Is there any discussion on 20? Any discussion on 20? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
That is a... Huh? What?
Was that the sixth district, Mr. President?
Yes, it was a 6th.
All right, it's in her district.
Prepare, that has been approved. Forthwith on that. Next item,
Item number 21 on the supplemental page.
the hearing has not been held on that? Okay, prepare the roll on 16, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
All right, we have 21, we have Leonard Shapiro, Patricia McPherson, and Kathy Knight.
Mr. President and council members, items 20, which no hearings were held on, and 21 are closely associated. We're talking about $3.6 million in total department costs, which are going to be used by actions associated with the Playa Vista Development Project. Now, this,
we had a hearing.
you're talking about this money, in addition to all the other money that the city council is paying or putting out one way or the other, and the money that the state is also putting out. The phase number 1 is already in progress from June 2nd, and this is phase number 2 that you're talking about. And the phase number 2 planning project involves retail establishments, hotel, and office work. And to proceed with the current phase, the planning department, it must, among other things, process 2 plan amendments, 3 specific plan amendments, subdivision maps, and so forth. The state of California required EIR is also essential for phase 2. A lot of this stuff is being ignored. And the question on this item 20 about appropriating $3.6 million in addition to all the other money that's being spent on this project brings up this project again. The main point on this project: why is the city so insistent on going along with a development which is the last area where it can hold all these animals that are on the verge of extinction, including the great blue heron? They claim that when the project is placed into action, that there will be a certain amount of spaces allowed for all these animals to live in. But it's not true. They're taking away all the acreage and putting back very little, and we're losing up the last wetlands property that could be in LA and should be used properly, instead of giving it away to the developers who have been going bankrupt slowly, finding new people to come in there, trying to find people who will come, and then using the city, bleeding the city for whatever money they can do. I think it's time to stop this charade, Mr. President.
Patricia McPherson and then Kathy Knight.
My name is Patricia McPherson. I'm representing the Grassroots Coalition and Earthways Foundation. I'm against any of the proposals going forward with any development on the Ballona Wetlands area until a full SEIR, a subsequent environmental impact review, has been completed. The area has changed circumstances. It is now designated as a high methane risk area. We are aware of toxic gases coming up in the area. There is mitigation being discussed for this area without any public knowledge of what is going on there. The public is not aware that it is even designated as a high methane risk area. There's much new information that wasn't known at the time the EIR was approved.
Yes, my name is Kathy Knight. I'm with Spirit of the Sage Council that works to protect Native American lands and animals and biodiversity on our planet. We urge you to, instead of putting $3.76 million towards 10 city departments to process supply VISTA permits as fast as possible, to build on the last large coastal wetland system in LA, we urge you to use that money to try to save it. We're told that we should be eating fish more often, but the fisheries are collapsing off our coast. We need all the wetlands left to restore our fisheries so our children can eat healthy. The migratory birds from Alaska to South America, that's also collapsing. They're heading towards Salton Sea because we've destroyed the wetlands in Los Angeles County, and they're dying off in record numbers at Salton Sea. So we need to save the migratory bird path so we don't have to use more pesticides and poison our population with against insects that birds can eat. The last thing I want to tell you, I already presented this to the Budget and Finance Committee, but I want to show you this map, 1923 Geological Survey map, that shows Centinela Creek, and I did enter this into the council file. You can see it in the council file. It shows Centinela Creek going all the way through Area D, east of Lincoln, right where DreamWorks wants to build, right where the Howard Hughes plant site built. There was a wetland there. The entire area was a wetland. With over 90% of our wetlands destroyed in California and over 95% in Los Angeles County, the entire 400-acre parcel east of Lincoln could be restored for a wetland. And I'm also entering the EIR that shows Howard Hughes had to use special construction because he built on a marsh. We also support Patricia McPherson's request for an SEIR. We've made 14 requests now for a SEIR on the underground gas problem here. Please don't repeat Belmont High School disaster. Do the studies now. At Belmont, they told you 10 years previously that the studies need to be done on the underground gas contamination and oil field there. They weren't done. And now millions have been put into construction, and now their studies are being done. Please support our request for a subsequent EIR on Phase 1 regarding the already documented underground gas problem at Ballona. Thank you very much.
That's all the cards we have, and the public hearing is closed. Ms. Galanter.
Usual, the facts of the case are a little different than what's been stated in the public hearing. The item before us is one in which we're going to take money from the developer instead of putting out city money, and we are taking this money in order, the developer is paying this money in order for city personnel to do exactly the kinds of studies that the people who don't want the project to go forward under any circumstances want. So I would urge your approval of this. This is a situation where money is coming in rather than going out. We do need to have the studies done, and this is the way to get them done.
Okay, we have item 21 before us now. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith on that. Next item.
Item number 6 called special by Ms. Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call 6 special?
Just for a question. I just wanted to note, because this calls for, there's no fiscal impact. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on number 9. I'm on number 9. Oh, there's no fiscal impact here. It says it's submitted without recommendation. I was curious why it's without recommendation. And then, since it's $500,000, what is the fiscal impact of that $500,000? It also says that we didn't receive anything from the city
Ms.
attorney's
Goldberg, I think the reason there
office.
was no recommendation because there was only 2 members at the
That's correct.
committee, and the one voted
Actually, it was
yes and
one that
voted-
was for and one that was against.
Okay.
But I want to know why the one that was against and the one was for. Well, it's $500,000. If it were $10,000, I wouldn't have said boo, but
I don't think it had
$500,000
anything
is
to do
a
with
lot
the
of
money as it had to do just with the basic philosophy.
This is to accept $500,000.
Yes, right, right. But is that not an appropriate settlement? Was that the argument? You know what I'm saying, when there's no,
Do you want to, we have the taxing
As I said, if we were talking
genius,
about $10,000,
the taxing
I wouldn't have
genius here
said a
who,
word, but
you want to respond to Ms. Goldberg's question?
Okay, Ronald Tuller, City Attorney's Office. This is a settlement recommendation that we have made whereby we will receive about $484,000 to settle a business tax claim against Sun America. The issue here is that Sun America Financial is a subsidiary of an insurance company, or of several insurance companies, and a related entity. And the taxpayer, the gross receipts of the taxpayer that constitute the tax measure are reimbursements for the employees that do the work of the insurance companies. The insurance companies, in this case, do not have any employees of their own. So this particular entity employs everybody who performs the functions of the insurance companies. The issue is that we are now dealing with an entity that is, in the broad sense of the term, an agent of an insurance company, and there is case law that holds that agents of insurance companies are not subject to business tax. So that's the reason why the amount being accepted is relatively small in relation to the total amount of the claim.
what was the total amount of the
The
claim?
total amount of the claim with penalty and interest and everything is about $3,200,000.
So why,
This
so
is
tell me
also-
why, I mean, that was relatively complex. Just run it by me simply. Why are we then accepting $500,000?
Well, it's a non-recurring situation because they have now done away with this subsidiary so that this problem will not arise in the future. So
Right.
we're trying to resolve
But
a...
we just had this painful discussion over here. I mean, we're talking about a difference between $3 million and $500,000 of $2.5 million goes a long way to funding human services, for example. Why do you think we would not be able to win that $2.5 million?
Because we are dealing with an entity that is an agent of an insurance company. And as I said, case law has held that agents, the strict kind of an agent that sells insurance policies and receives a commission based on the premium, is entitled to the same constitutional exemption that exists for the insurance company. The city cannot tax insurance companies.
Okay,
And we cannot tax
then why
agents.
would they pay us $500,000 at all?
Because there is some doubt as to whether they qualify as that type of agent. They're in a slightly different situation.
Then why don't they split it 50-50 with us and give us $1.5 million?
Well, I mean, that's a matter of negotiation, and we think the chances are the case is really more on their side than it is on our side.
And we stand to, if you'd like, as I recall, we stand to lose all of it. I mean, I didn't like the idea that we couldn't recoup more, but I think the way it was explained to the committee, it was, I think the difference that we had was that Rita felt that we possibly could collect more, and she disagreed with it. I was on the side of the city attorney, recognizing that if we go for it all, we could lose it all. And this was more than likely all that we were going to be able to prevail on. And it was a judgment call, and I have to side with the city attorney on this issue, because I think that it is iffy, and if we gamble it, we could gamble it all.
Through Mr. President.
Mrs. Walters.
We gamble on many settlements and litigation situations in the city, and I believe we're gambling on the wrong side on this one. I think that the money that we're settling for is a great deal less than the dollars that were involved, and I think that the company should have been held to pay. But this did come. Was it a recommendation or a suggestion from the city attorney?
It's a recommendation.
It was a recommendation from the city attorney, but and usually I agree with the city attorney and support those recommendations, but this was one where I felt I could not.
Hernandez.
So if we choose not to settle today, then we'll be litigating?
We could either litigate or we could attempt to settle for a higher figure.
No, but if they owe us the money, why did we bill them in the first place that it was questionable?
Well, because the city clerk has to either bill it or not bill it, and so if there's, any plausible basis for the recovery, then the city clerk has to bill it and claim it.
And so, is there any other companies like this that we were billing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is the city clerk here to answer that question? You're saying this is the only company of this sort that we charged?
This is the only one that I've ever run across in my experience.
That you're litigating? Did they file a suit against us?
No. This is the result of an audit performed by the city clerk, and the city has a claim against the taxpayer.
Okay. And that is our right?
Right, the claim is there because the dollars, nobody's disputing the amount of the dollars. The question is, what is the legal basis of that claim, and how strong is our legal basis?
And I guess the reason I'm asking the question is because if we don't have a basis to claim it, because we're not supposed to charge it, then we shouldn't even be worried about getting the $500,000.
Well, unless we go to litigation, we'll never know whether we should or should not have been able to collect it. That's the reason for the settlement.
And the
because
litigation could also establish our right to collect this from other agents.
It could if we prevail.
And they are generating revenue in the city.
This company is no longer generating revenue in the city because the functions have been transferred to one of the insurance companies, so now we can't tax the function.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else want to be heard on item number 6? All right, Mr. Alatorre moves to accept, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
8 ayes, 2 noes.
That was an overwhelming of approval. Yeah, I know, and I understand that, and Mr. Hernandez moves reconsideration. All right, prepare the roll on the matter. Tabulate the vote.
7 ayes, 3 noes.
That failed, so it'll be on the agenda again. Next item.
Item number 9, called special by Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call 9 special?
Oh, just a question. Yeah. On item 9, it really is just a question. It says there's no fiscal impact statement, none submitted by the Planning Department zoning administrator, neither as the CAO or the CLA completed a financial analysis of this report. I think that's kind of important to know what it would cost to do this, because I think it's a great idea, and maybe we need to do these regionally throughout the city, but it's hard for me to vote on this without knowing what it would cost. I mean, I think it's a good idea. It's not a problem with the idea.
If I can respond, I don't have the fiscal information, but just to bring you up to date, after we had the testimony in here from the folks from Skid Row, basically what they had asked was that they had submitted a number of places where there were problems, and they were seeking nuisance abatement. And what we did in Plum Committee was had a report, and there are 11 original locations that were submitted, for which all the work has already been done. And so these folks were saying, why are we waiting 3 years if the work's been done to have the hearing? And it was at that point that the Planning Department advised us that working with the Police Department and the City Attorney, there were 13 additional sites, and the City Attorney thought it might be better to do it comprehensively. What we asked for in Plum was the update of the status report and a report back in 30 days. If they
need more money or need more time to do it comprehensively per the city attorney's advice, then they need to come back and tell us. If not, and the other option was that they should proceed with the 11 sites that they have if they've already done the work to do that under normal nuisance abatement that I think each council member initiates when there are problems brought forward.
Right.
So we will have the report. Either we are able to do it within the existing confines of the budget in how the police department and planning department proceed on nuisance abatements, or if they need more money, it will come back to us, and I understand that public safety
All
wants
right.
it as well.
Fine. Thank you. That's all I needed.
If not, prepare on 9.
Send the report, task force, highlight to Public Safety Committee. I have to, sorry.
Okay.
That I'm simply asking for the report to go to Plum Committee and to Public Safety Committee. I'm adding Public Safety Committee.
There's no objection to that, so
Thank
prepare the
you.
roll, tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 14, called special by Councilmember Walters.
Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and council members, this is a motion to waive $11,000 in fees for the use of the convention center by what appears to be a commercial organization. And I believe we went over this before and established some rules and said that we would not do this for commercial organizations. And so I urge a no vote on this motion.
Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. President, members of the council, I ask an aye vote on this item so that everybody has a perspective of what happened. There's 6 consulates, the consulates of Belize, Costa Rica, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, basically after dealing with the issue of Hurricane Mitch, decided that they would try and put together a trade conference and a symposium where dialogue could be discussed as to how it is that we could work on economic development ventures between California, particularly Los Angeles, and those countries. Because part of the strategy for reconstruction after the hurricane has to deal with economic development as opposed to just aid. The United States Department of Commerce participated in this, the State Department, all those consulates were key players. It wasn't a money-making venture. And if you would have been there, I spoke to about 200 people. They had about 70 booths. Most of those booths were being run by the kinds of organizations that provided aid, very little economic businesses. Although we saw a lot of American companies who showed up who were trying to figure out how to be part of that reconstruction in their discussion with the State Department. And again, it wasn't something that made money. I thought that the venue of the convention center basically provided the kind of status for the conference that it should have, and that's why I was asking that we waive these fees. And I ask for a unanimous vote.
Mr. President, members, I understand, I think, what Ms. Walters is hitting on, but I think this is really a totally different situation. As was mentioned, these are countries, states within Central America that were devastated by the earthquake, and what they're trying to do is attract business to help them through this process. I mean, and this is not a organization that is in it for profit. This is a way of helping out our southern neighbors and trying to expose to maybe companies that may be interested or maybe not know of opportunities, an opportunity of coming, or they did come to a fixed location where opportunities could be discussed and maybe some relief be given as a result of it to these countries. I don't think that it is out of the question. I think it's totally something that we have a right to do, and it's not a question that an organization was making money as it was a way of trying to help out some of our southern neighbors. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved. Next item. Forthwith on that. Next item.
Now is time for public testimony on non-agenda item.
Okay, we have Leonard Shapiro.
Mr. President and council members, I'm not going to talk about the charter, which we know right now is hanging in the balance. And after all, we don't have money to burn. And I'm glad that the president became the top contributor against for voting the charter down. The one point I want to bring about this election, if and when this charter gets voted down, I want the city council to be the first body to vote to have a third reform charter commission set up that's going to be guided basically by Sacramento's charter with 14 pages and out going through the whole rigmarole. What I'd like to talk to you about is the contract for 911 centers that was just awarded in West Hills and in downtown. And I'd like to point out to the council members here that it's time the council as a whole went down there, went down to the 4th floor beneath the street level and see what's going on in 911. I submit there's nothing wrong with the system as it's set up right now, and I go down there quite a bit. In fact, they say the system crashed. It didn't crash. There was some equipment that didn't work at one time, but it's working fine. And you got to remember, from 60 units, only 12 of them are being used for 911. The others are being used for 912 and for other work with the police and the fire department. And if you don't go down and look, yes, then somebody's going to say we got to spend $37 million, like the mayor is saying, and you're going to say, okay, we're going to build in the valley, and we're going to build another place right next to the Parker Center. Well, I submit if you go down and look, you won't have to do this, because under the 4th floor, there's a 5th floor that very few people go to look at. In that 5th floor, there's about 25 consoles that have never been used. If you need new facilities and they're crashing and you don't answer, and 85% of the calls are false alarms, and you got 8,400 a month that you say the people don't get immediate answers. If this is so, why are these consoles laying around unused? You have the facilities, you have the place, and you're not using it properly. All you got to do is look at the record once more about the fire department. Why did it take them 6.5 years to get their main shop set up? It's finally operating right now. About 95% of it is going, and it's operating. It should have been put into effect 5 to 6 years ago. Instead, you just scratched along and nothing happened. Now you're doing the same thing with the regular system, which is working properly, and you don't need a new building next to Parker Center. You don't need a new building in the valley unless you want to get really insurance, and there's no rush about this thing. 3 years to get set up and 3 years to test and so forth. And the money that was spent was voted in 1992. My point is, if you're going to vote or going to see what's going to happen with 911, at least every city council person should go down to the 4th floor and take a look and see what's happening and see if you believe they need new facilities for millions of dollars. $37 million is just a down payment on it. And that's not, in my opinion, and I've been there hundreds of times, it is not necessary. The facilities they got now are usable, Mr. President.
Okay, it's all the cards we have, so the public comment period is closed. The next item?
Item number 19 is a closed session item.
Okay, do we have anything else on the desk? Well, anybody not involved with the executive session, please leave the council chamber. In the meantime, we'll clear off the desk.
I was teasing Renee.
Mr.
Yeah, we have some people want to be excused, so let's.
There's a request to be excused from council. Councilmember Fuhrer requests to be excused on Wednesday, June 30th, to leave at 12 noon. This meets policy for city business.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Chick requests to be excused on Friday, August 20th, meets policy for personal business.
August 20th. Wow. Unanimous vote.
Okay. Mr. Burnson requests to be excused on Wednesday, June 9th, for city business, meets policy.
Unanimous vote.
And Councilmember Hernandez requests to be excused on Friday, June 11th, to leave at noon. This requires a motion.
Move it.
Okay, there's only 10 on Friday, and so you better get to, hope that the agenda's not too long. Okay, unanimous vote on that. Okay, everyone please stand. Mr. Alatorre for an adjourning motion.
Yes, Mr. I have 3 adjourning motions. Mr. President, members, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Teresa Del Rio. Teresa Del Rio is the daughter of a very close personal friend of mine. Probably many of you know him. Fernando Del Rio used to work at Channel 9 for many, many years. She died just tragically in Echo Park. It was part of some road rage situation where she made a left-hand turn. Person got upset and chased the car. There were several girls in the car and just proceeded to shoot in the car and shot Teresa Del Rio. And it's just very, very tragic, and it just points out man's inhumanity to man.
All members on that.
Absolutely.
Secondly, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of the brother of now deceased former president of United Farm Workers, Cesar Chavez's brother, Manuel Chavez, who was part of the United Domestic Workers of America, and he just died tragically at a relatively young age on Sunday. And I'd like to adjourn in his memory and ask all members to join me on that. And lastly, to
all members on that.
Yes. And lastly, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Felix Medina. He's the father of one of my constituents, Frank Medina. Maybe Mike, you'd like to join me on it. Employee, used to be former employee of MTA and now in private business for himself, but beautiful, be a former city employee also, and his father tragically passed away. I'd like to adjourn in his memory.
Mr. Burnson?
Yes, I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Edith Watso, who was the wife of a very close friend of mine who passed away recently, a number of years ago, Jack Watso. She's survived by a relative, Manny Rubenfeld.
Ms. Goldberg?
Ask that we adjourn in memory of Mel Torme. He was just a tremendous guy, in addition to being a tremendous talent. And if you talk to any of the musicians in Local 47, all of them played with him at some point or another. And Mel Torme.
Yeah, I'd like to be a
and
co-presenter on that,
and thought
too.
that he was just a terrific and decent human being who really cared about music. They called him a walking encyclopedia. I didn't know that, but I just talked to some of them over the weekend. They said his knowledge of music was absolutely well known around this city, around this country. So he was quite a guy. He had a stroke 3 years ago and never really recovered.
Mr. Burnson?
I just want to add that Mel Torme was known for many, many years, as long as I can remember, as one of the great singers. But I heard recently somebody was talking in reference to his passing and said that he was the greatest male jazz singer of all time, and I concur with that.
There's a lot of competition on that one. He was certainly good.
Members of the council, I think we should adjourn in memory of Eddie Stanky, who passed away. Eddie Stanky was an old Brooklyn Dodger baseball.
Second baseman.
And he didn't come out to Los Angeles, but he was really a tradition in New York, so, in Brooklyn. Call the roll. Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just simply comment on the tragic loss of the Del Rio family, if I may, just for a moment. There's nothing more unsettling that I can think of when a child is not only tragically but viciously taken. And all the good that Fernando Del Rio and his wife have done and continue to do for our city. It's a very, very sad moment, and I think all of us are diminished by yet another tragic, violent death in this city.
Call the roll. The council is adjourned.